Yeah. Who doesn't want to, take a cannabis gummy and sit on the beach and you don't got to worry about your back pain for a couple hours and enjoy a sunset while you're away from your crazy 9 to 5 in the Matrix in Tokyo or Gangnam or someplace like that. I can only imagine.
Hafude Guam and beyond. This is Dr. Lon Nguyen, the Longevity Doc. So I'm here with Mr. Stephen Roberto.
Hi, Doc.
So, I didn't really prepare a bio because I wanted to go organically, but I did a little bit of research. But everything I could find on the internet was really about jiu-jitsu and how you started purebred. And I guess could probably safely say I would say you'd be the godfather, the OG of jiu-jitsu here on Guam, right? And you really helped propel that movement. And I've even read a little bit about how under your belt or under your tutelage and mentorship, you've been able to help people get 34 black belts in jiu-jitsu here, and it's still growing. And
yeah, I think there's like 41 of them now. I think right. 40 plus guys that have able to reach the black belt, and I'm very blessed to have that. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I'm just one of the cogs in the wheel of the jiu-jitsu machine on Guam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you've done well yourself on competing. And what are some of the accolades, or what are some of the competitions you're proud of in jiu-jitsu?
I mean, just getting involved in jiu-jitsu was a challenge itself for me because I had no interest in single combat, So just getting to go to jiu-jitsu was like one of the biggest game changers for my life, so to speak. And then if I had to count like some of the memorable moments on the mat, it's, wow. So we've gone through I've been able to do a lot personally, but I think also the team achievements kind of might overshadow that, I guess. So I guess having the first non-Brazilian team to podium as a team in the team championship standings for a major event, and that was in 2008 at the Asian Open. So prior to that, to get on the podium as a team, it was all Brazilian dominated.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like the biggest one. And then, wow, I guess I've got like 2 or 3 world champions that have 4 world champions.
Yeah.
That were able to get to world champion status in their respective belt levels. And that was big to be able to witness that. That was good times, right? Yeah. And then I think maybe personally for myself, been able to win the Asian Open 5 times at black belt.
Wow. And this is for like a men's open category.
Yeah, so that 3 of those titles are in my weight class at light heavy.
Yeah.
And then 2 of them are open weight class titles. Wow. Yeah. I'm beat up, Doc. That's why I visit you. That's why I'm always checking you out. So, a lot of stuff done on my own, but I think the team achievements I'm very proud of.
Yeah. I heard something, kind of a crazy stat, almost on the lines of we have the highest density of black belts, almost like if you say per capita or per density. Would you agree that's the case?
I believe so. I believe if it's not just the black belts, also I think the density of the schools that are on the island that are jiu-jitsu schools, and then the amount of students per capita, like jiu-jitsu is very embedded in Guam culture.
Yeah. And, I watch the sports news and I kind of analyze which sports are doing well comparatively, when we compete against the world. And I feel like jiu-jitsu is number 1 right now.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
That's facts. Yeah, that's true.
I'd say because every year we send, even the kids now, they're coming back with medals. I think it's even overshadowing even soccer and basketball right now, I feel like, in the terms of actual competition medals and things like that. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited for the sport, and I mean that's pretty cool that our local people can get to that level of peak performance and compete at that world stage.
Yeah, and you as a healthcare professional, you're always going to be a proponent of anything that's good for your health, right?
Yeah.
Activity and jujitsu is about as active as you can get, you know, and words talk and numbers scream, and those results are. It's the truth of what the hard work is that the jiu-jitsu community puts into their craft on this island.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like the byproduct, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like affected by it. They get super stoked by it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what did you go into, like, were you in jiu-jitsu moving from Long Beach, California, or is that something new that came to you when you came to Guam?
Yeah, I started jiu-jitsu when I'm 50 years old now. I started jiu-jitsu when I was 22.
Okay.
And it happened because I had two really good friends of mine that were into it. They were martial artists. They, you know, one was a street fighter, one was a martial artist. You know, they accepted the culture of combat.
Yeah.
I was nobody, you know. I had friends that would fight for me. Why do I need to learn how to fight?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to get myself into any trouble. Very naive, not really understanding the world or life, and just kind of like had the luxury of being around some tough friends. But they were able to convince me, you need this, you need to do this. And I remember, you know, I've told this story before. I kind of got like tricked. You know, give us a ride to training. We'll fill your gas tank. You're just a young guy, 22 years old, living paycheck to paycheck, you know, living off of the change in your ashtray at Wendy's drive-through, you know?
Right.
So, look, you're offering to pay me for gas. Okay, I'll do it. Man, why don't you just stick around? Give us a ride back. And I watched what they were doing, and it made sense. They could talk about it all day, and they had already been doing jiu-jitsu like 6 or 8 months prior to me starting. But when I saw what was going on, I got hooked. I was like, I couldn't even wait for like Hornet Sporting Goods to open the next day, buy a gi, get it washed, get to the gym early, stretch out, make sure I drink enough water, and just got super hooked on it. Yeah. Super hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very addictive. Yeah.
I'm still kind of dabbling. Should I do it or not?
You should.
You know,
never too late, never too soon. And it's better. You're going to go into jiu-jitsu at its best time. Mm-hmm. So like we would train very hard before because the technique wasn't there. It was just real passionate. Now the athletes train super smart, super technical, super efficient. You're going to get better, faster, less injuries. Yeah. You're coming in at the most refined moment of jiu-jitsu, most especially on Guam.
Yeah. So maybe if you could put an argument together for, you know, someone in the mid-40s like me, he's starting a new sport. So some of my fears, right? I look at different sports, and even I still play a little bit of basketball, but every day I go in, I feel like it's kind of a gamble when I go out there. I'm looking for an ACL tear, and sometimes maybe I'm a little bit biased of why I might not go into jiu-jitsu because I see patients come in for dislocated shoulders when they're sparring, or like a lot of them tweak their. I don't see much ACL tears, but a lot of maybe sprains of the MCL, and that takes them out for a couple of weeks, you know. Looking at maybe those risks, what would you say the risk of that happening, and is there a lot of other things that outshadow that, or pros opposed to that small risk?
To answer your question, I look at it at two angles.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one being like. And I think you can understand this being a healthcare professional. We look for the magic pill to fix all of our ailments. I want something that's instant gratification. I don't got to do nothing. It's going to just wash it away, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the parable of the lobster, right? The parable of the lobster is he has to survive hiding in the cracks of the reef as the other fish are looking for something to eat. And little by little, he can't fit in these cracks because of his shell. So he's got to shed that thing, right? Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't shed that shell, put himself in an uncomfortable position, shed that shell, grow, survive, or die, right? And what do you have to lose by not trying, right? And then at the same time, you're a professional. You're an asset at what you do. You're high level at what you do already. I think something like that the challenge of jiu-jitsu, the self-imposed challenge of making yourself comfortable, that being uncomfortable is going to transgress and move over to your professional world or your business or your family, and you're going to start to see the benefit of it. And so that's, age is just a perception in your mind. There's so many people that are constantly proving that wrong by just being active, And if age is a question, your job to train is to train as hard as you can till you make it back the next time. You're not trying to win the world championships. You're not trying to fight in the UFC. You're trying to just enhance your life. The jiu-jitsu that you're doing is more for your mind and your wife and your kids than it is for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be more about your business. So your job as a 9 to 5er that clocks in at the clinic and clocks out, and you got to go back there the next day, and you got to work with your hands and everything. You can't afford to be injured. Your job is to train as hard as you can until you make it back the next time. Right? And then in that, you're going to be responsible and making sure you have the right training partners. That I don't need to be around the 22-year-old Navy SEAL. Okay. We can roll, but we're going to have to do that. And can you make sure I go to work tomorrow next and have that communication, right? Yeah. Or look for the guys. You got the old guys club. We take it easy. We're the old, what I'm trying to say? Right. So the jiu-jitsu culture has so many facets to it that you'll be able to find something that helps you get to the next training. Right. And there's guys that are right in there with you too. They get it too.
Yeah. So the same philosophy of where they're the same mindset of we're here for the exercise, or we're for the mind, or just the general well-being, or just the love of the competition, but we're not out to kill each other and injure each other, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Guam has progressed tremendously in that sense to where that type of mentality, it shouldn't exist. It's bad for business if you're a school owner.
Yeah.
You can't have, some guy wrecking your students and then, so now they monitor the mat. They make sure that they're keeping eyes on everything, make sure they're policing the mat. Hey, man, you can't do that. You can't be a sideline shark. You got to warm up like everybody else, homie. Come on.
Yeah.
You can't just waltz in 30 minutes after everyone's dying and then start picking and no, you know what I mean? So you're looking for that when you're shopping for academies, to see that they're doing their due diligence and they're providing those type of securities for you as the client. Yeah. To be able to go back and service your clients, Yeah. And not get pushed back, because if you get injured, then you fall off the rocker. It's harder to come back. You know what I mean? We gotta, like I said, it's more about training smart than just training hard. And now those options are available.
Yeah. And then the other thing, that's kind of piqued my interest in this jiu-jitsu world was, as a parent, I have a son that's, 5 years old growing up. And, the things we think about as parents is, things come in waves, but right now crime is high, and, the cycle of crime and how violent things are, or how dangerous things can depend where you are, or just the cycle of the economy, things like that affect it. But, I think it's more important than ever that you have to be able to self-defend, or have some sort of way to defend yourself, or have some sort of confidence in that realm. And I'm like exploring, what is the best martial arts to be able to defend? And would you argue jiu-jitsu is the best, or taekwondo, or does it matter?
So to answer your question, yes, we are living in the most violent, if not vile, times ever in man's history. And if you think things like, it'd be naive to think that crime and bullying is going to fix itself. And more, as you read the newspaper, it's, we have great people on the police force, but it's a reactionary measure more than a precautionary measure. And you want to be able to have some form of self-defense, to just be able to hone your situational awareness. People that are into martial arts, your primary purpose of martial arts should not be getting into shape. There's other ways to get into shape. The primary purpose of martial arts, most especially jiu-jitsu, should be self-defense. And after that, you'll get the other benefits of everything that comes with the martial arts lifestyle, a positive, active, healthy lifestyle, right?
Right.
But having martial arts in your life is great, like I said, to be able to like pull your antenna out. You know, everyone's stuck on their device. The blinders are there and you're just not aware. And that's what people prey upon.
Yeah.
And when you become, you know, everyone was laughing at the preppers pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
Now we all preppers now.
Yeah.
Right. And so same thing with self-defense. Like, we can try to just shy away from the problem, or we can address it wholeheartedly, you know, and learn how to be uncomfortable and learn how to stomach that. Where if harm comes to my family, or if I'm not there to protect my family, we all have the stomach to deal with that. That's the conversation that needs to be, you know, sometimes it doesn't have to get to that, because they kind of like realize in that oh wow moment during their training, like, holy cow, I couldn't defend myself to save my life 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And now my strut's different. You know, I got swagger, I got confidence. Hey, careful there. Hey, you know, everyone's, you know, becoming more alert, you know, so that's a great byproduct of jiu-jitsu, a great byproduct of martial arts lifestyle, is that ability to kind of just, like I said, your antenna gets pulled out, because it just happens. I need, you know, every day you're dealing with trust on the mat, right? This person gets put in a position where he could maim me or disable me, right? Or take my life, and I have to trust him there,
Right.
that he's not going to do that. And when the tables turn and we flip and I'm in that position, you know, he has to trust me that I'm going to do that. And man, I can't really trust everyone like that.
Yeah.
In my life, in my daily life, you know, and then little oh wow moments start happening on the ride home, you know, while you're showering, you know, you're in bed trying to wind down, and that's the byproduct of the mental jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, I got to be more careful about what I do. I got to, you know, at least that's how I think. That's how I started thinking, because all I could think of was how naive I was prior to that.
Yeah.
If I was going to get jacked, I was the perfect candidate to get jacked. You know what I mean? And now, triple checking the doors at home. Have to double check. My wife gets mad because we'll go to the mall. We're going to go eat lunch. I fucking got to walk back, double check to make sure my car's locked. You know what I mean? Right. All those little functions of living on paradise, right? Yeah. It's like in one way or the other, it's kind of like a paradise tax that you got to pay.
So what I hear is that, you know, martial arts or even jiu-jitsu can give you the ability to self-defend, but then it gives you also a greater ability to have that awareness to be able to even maybe prevent to getting to altercation, and
that's
have
right.
the mental fortitude or that awareness to avoid that situation.
Walk away.
Place,
yes. Right? Walk the other way. Yeah. You don't need to be a part of that nonsense. Yeah. And I think that's where, like I said, the mental jiu-jitsu now, I can be proactive. I don't have to engage. I can diffuse the situation. There's really nothing to prove. I have to think about the legal implications of if I engage with someone.
Right.
You're going to learn all of those restraints along with the functions of what you need to do to defend yourself, protect yourself. A lot of times you're going to be training with cops. Yeah. There'll be cops in class. You know, there'll be the marshals. There'll be the law enforcement guys, you know. Yeah. Hey, can I call you something? Or, you know, and then you'll maybe get a legal perspective. We do self-defense classes at the academy, and part of it is like, you can't just have the cops walk up on you and you're on top of the burglar and you're smashing his face in with drop elbows, right? You know, it's better for you to be, hey, stop resisting.
Yeah.
Stop resisting. Yeah. Officers, I'm the homeowner. You know, be engaged, right? You know, so that you don't take it too far, and you make sure you understand everything that you get yourself into.
Yeah. So I wasn't really planning to make this necessarily political, but it just kind of came to my mind when you talked about self-defense and protecting family and things like that. But like, you kind of watch culture, like it's maybe when I watch culture in the United States, I've noticed that, you know, I'm a UFC fan too, and like it seems like the MMA or the jiu-jitsu side seems to be more conservative Republican. It's just kind of interesting. Would you say that's the case, or it just because it's when Dana White brings in Trump, like the whole crowd goes wild, and it's like a different energy. Like, is there a philosophy you think that rings more with conservative values, or is it just happenstance? It's still a 50-50 thing.
I can agree with that 100%, that there is a more conservative following. when it comes to jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, with its fan base, with its practitioner base. Two things. I think it's been magnified now only because of the polarization of the Donald Trump and the election and we've been in this election for the last 4 years, basically, So everything that went along with it got super polarized and super magnified. But on a just a feeling level, jiu-jitsu teaches you to deal with the moment-to-moment realities of the fight. There's no, I'm going to practice 25 high kicks and hope that I high kick this guy and knock him out. That's a gamble. When you use jiu-jitsu, because of the leverage, because of the understanding of positioning, body movement, where you're strong, where you're not, timing, now it's not a gamble anymore. It's math, right? I can read a formula now. It's going to work. Yeah. I'm going to have an advantage over you. I'm going to have an edge. Yeah. And so if you're able to understand like the realities of the moment to moment realities of the fight, okay, I'm not going to knock him out. Yeah. I'm not going to kick him in the crotch and hope that he falls and I can have a spectacular knee KO. Yeah. I'm going to have to use leverage. I'm going to have to fight in this. And because you're dealing the moment-to-moment realities of the fight, you end up dealing with the moment-to-moment realities of life. Yeah. I have a freaking problem right now. I need to fix it or not. Yeah. And I think that defines the center-right political movement. Was I don't want to have the luxury of what the media tells me or wants me to believe, or what socials tend to push out on the algorithm. I'm going to have to find out things for myself. I can't just get spoon-fed. I'm going to go grow my food and feed myself afterwards so I know what's going in it, kind of mentality. Yeah. And I think that leans more center-right, and I think that leans more single combat, having the stomach to deal with things, right? We talked about that earlier. Like some people just didn't have the stomach to deal with what if someone robs my house and what if like the cops will be there, right? Right. Wrong. Cops are coming after and you're pulling out that report and hoping, and they're going to ask you, do you still want to press? Because we don't know if they're going to get let off or not. You know what I'm trying to say? That's the realities of it, So yes, to answer your question, I do believe that MMA, BJJ, don't get me wrong, there's an extreme left of it too, right. But majority, for sure, center right. Okay,
so I was a two-way off based on my...
and if I sound like I'm talking crazy, Doc, please just tell me. Like, I don't get out much, bro.
Well, let's move on to, I guess, what you're doing now, because I would say it's a different path, I would say, right? And
yeah, so like, in the beginning of the podcast, you said that, I couldn't find out anything about you except jiu-jitsu. And, the caveat to that is that as much as it's accepted now, marijuana is still illegal. So it's kind of, it's in a perplexing situation to be somebody in that space during the time I was doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Because, law enforcement would have just had a field day with that. You know what I mean? But and so would the parents in the kids class. But now, different times, different mindset. Yeah. Yeah.
So from what I understand, from my conversations with you, you're a lot behind the scenes of helping with, regulation of the marijuana, cannabis industry and the CBD industry, and make sure it's done properly and vetted well and with the right regulations, so it is safe for people and it's done correctly, and we don't dig ourselves a hole. But so tell me a little bit about your efforts on that side in this, I guess, more newer venture, and what actual business you're doing now.
Yeah, so now I'm now applying for a cultivation license under the the Guam Cannabis Control Board. Right now, my license is being tabled right now as I go through the application process, which requires us to go through certain clearances from all the GovGuam agencies that are pertinent to cannabis cultivation on Guam. And so right now, I'm currently in the licensing portion of the process. We hope to get up and operational soon, but that all depends on how we can get those applications passed and the inspections passed in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And also, again, working out the kinks with the rules and the regulations, because there are some, when the rules and regs and the actual law was written, it was written a while ago. And, this is such a fast growing, constantly developing industry that when they wrote the law, it doesn't pertain to how things are done today. And so, we're working quickly with the community and the legislatures to make them understand that we want to move forward with this. It's good for Guam. We desperately need the revenue that comes from the taxation from cannabis. It'll help a lot of people out, and also being able to take cannabis off the black market should supersede that more than anything, because we always call it the black market, or we always associate cannabis as being a gateway drug. And the only reason why it's a gateway drug is because the people that are selling the weed on the street just might also be wanting to sell you something else. When you remove that from the equation and you start to isolate cannabis, and people start to do their best to undemonize it and normalize it now, because it is legal in over half of the states, medically, if not recreationally. The sky hasn't fallen.
Yeah. So for the states that have legalized cannabis, and you're seeing part of the root issue of why it might be considered a gateway drug, and there's other drug involvement, is if in those states that are legalized, do you see that there is a decrease in use of other illegal substances?
That's true. So now I'd like to say in the last 10 years now, that's the other thing, was like prior to 10, 15 years ago, all you would see were negative effect studies. That's all you saw, because, let's face it, the war on drugs was all about eradication rather than education, right? And rehabilitation. And so now that you're starting to see on the state level the acceptance of medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, now they're able to do their own statewide studies. Now that Congress has approved the medicinal studies of cannabis with the anticipation of Schedule 3, cannabis coming off the Schedule 1 listing and descheduled down to Schedule 3. Well, right, Health and Human Services has finally admitted there are medical benefits to marijuana. So we needed that to get the green light to figure out what it is. So I take it in the next 5 years, you'll see more federal studies showing, the positive benefits of course, there's risks involved with everything. You're going to have abuse everywhere, just gambling, sex, food. But if used correctly, you will find relief and benefit from it.
Kind of going back to states or even countries, I like to look at case studies, and sometimes when we legalize certain drugs or we anticipate, bringing cannabis to Guam will help the economy, but there may be some other effects, unanticipated effects. Like I think Thailand's one case study. Didn't they legalize marijuana?
And then they rolled it back to, so, I think that's like that's the whole danger of dealing with something that's very misunderstood and then very underestimated, right? Like cannabis, like how's it going to affect their economy? How's it going to affect their social behavior? How's it going to affect the community on that point? And I think that was just pure poor planning. And then they had to kind of backtrack. I don't think you see a lot of that in the United States, simply because they are very kind of careful first to just do the medical first.
Yeah.
And then get that industry going, get it all propped up, get it more normalized. And then they introduced recreational, whereas Thailand had just gone full-blown recreational off the bat. And it was just like the Wild West. You just had everyone operating, you know, floodgates, so to speak.
So why was that better? What I guess the only negative I heard is it brought in maybe not the right crowd or the right people.
Yeah.
And the influx of that, and that kind of degraded the community. But was there any other negatives of how Thailand did it?
I mean, this is the age-old argument. You'll have one side of the cannabis community saying there should be no regulations. This is God's plan. It should be free for all.
Yeah.
But it's such a powerful plant that there should be some checks and balances on it. You know, in the end, cannabis abuse can be bad. You know, we're not trying to push the narrative on the stoner mentality and the low life, you know, the guy that doesn't get anything done because he's too stoned. You know, that's not the majority of people that consume cannabis. Majority of people that consume cannabis they don't want to drink alcohol. You know, cannabis has been with them through good and bad times in their life, and they feel more productive on it, or they can feel like they can relax more on it. Me as an athlete, I felt I could wind down after hard training and recover better being on cannabis, you know, whether it was CBD or CBD and THC. So I just think, like, yes, it shouldn't be the Wild West. That any municipality or state or country shouldn't just open up like Wild West, like how Thailand did it, because you'll have people that will abuse that, and then they'll turn it into something that was not the original intention. Yeah. So by having some eyes on and knowing that there's some repercussions for not doing things the right way, that's always a great thing, because you'll always have those knuckleheads that are gonna, they have to try. I had to at least try, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some kind of mixed feelings on the, I guess, making Guam I guess, place for medical or marijuana tourism, you know, because I think Guam needs something. Like, we need something to start now, some sort of program, something to spark our industry, because a lot of it's tied to tourism, and what can really help influx the amount of tourists here, or increase the revenue here, I think is I feel something needs to be done, and maybe that's could potentially do it like Amsterdam, or, you know, increase the economy that way. But I guess sometimes when we get into that realm of making it so open, my worry is when it gets too accepted, right, opposed to like Japan, is there are some of those consequences of, there's good enough studies, you know, although rare, that I feel that marijuana can incite or exacerbate schizophrenia or some mental disorders, you know, in people. Probably a low percentage, probably less than 1%. But I think
You're not wrong.
my issue is, before you do any program, you have to educate the kids, right? And make sure you don't touch that until at least after 18, or when your brain is fully developed, right?
Correct.
And you got to have those things in place and educate, and have a massive campaign before we say, oh, it's legalized and now everybody think it's okay to use it, right?
Yes. So I think with what you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you just said, it's about educating and then constantly re-educating people about the substance, the dangers, the benefits, and then also understanding that it's not a magic bullet. It's not a magic bullet. There's no magic bullet to pull us out of where we're at right now. We got a bunch of really good brass bullets, I guess, you know, if we were, you know, when people go to Amsterdam, they're not just going for the cannabis, they're going for the art, they're going for the food, they're going for the cafes, they're going for the ecotourism on the canals and all that stuff. And Guam has all of that. Yeah. I think it's just us coming out of that post-COVID slump everyone taking pride in Guam again, to really, and have faith to hunker down and sit it out and really build back rather than, what does everyone do? We got to go, Pari. We got to fly off. Or, Vegas is calling or whatever, we're going to relocate. And so I'm not trying to say it sounds easy. It's tough. It's going to be tough, but, little things that bring in revenue, like, it's little by little, work on bringing some of the tourism back, opening up to new markets, having new attractions for them, having more farm to table restaurant initiatives. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there when I just read the newspaper. That's it. Yeah. But cannabis too, having safe access to people that in their home country don't have legalized access to cannabis. It was my dream as a kid to always go to Jamaica. Yeah. And always go to Amsterdam because I, well, not as a kid, but, as a young adult, that's where the good cannabis was. That's where you needed to go. And we were in a country, the United States, think of it now, that was demonizing cannabis, So now you can just go down to ABC store and buy you some CBD gummies and hemp D9 THC gummies, or go to Gateway and get yourself some pre-rolls, or, Yeah.
But the other thing I just recently learned about that could potentially backfire on, or may not boost the economy as thought for the tourism side of cannabis, was that I heard that, say, if you're a Japanese tourist and they do cannabis here, and if they come back to Japan and they get tested, even though they didn't do cannabis in Japan, they could still get in trouble or prosecuted. Is that true?
So, my wife has a great team that does a lot of research on those type of things, because with the Gateway stores, that's my wife's business, her and her partners, and they are really on top of how we can educate the tourist if they so choose to partake in hemp or CBD, but at the same time, we have to understand the legalities and help to educate them and constantly re-educate them. And from what we understand is that they will not get, that's something that I think even their prime minister had mentioned, that there would not be any testing of Japanese traveling abroad. Okay. And I can provide you with a link to that with a closed caption translation underneath of the video, and maybe that can help to dispel some of the the other stuff going around in the news about foreign nationals getting tested when they go back to their home country, which I think is crazy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. That sounds a little reassuring then.
Yeah. And that goes back to everything like that we do. It's like if it's jiu-jitsu, if it's, self-defense, if it's cannabis, hemp, THC, CBD, THCA, it all comes down to people trying to just educate themselves. And really, you only know what you've been told versus going out there and trying to kind of discern for yourself. Well, 10 articles say this, and there's that one article that just says that, then you're stuck down that rabbit hole. But little by little, you're going to learn something.
Yeah. Do you think there'll be more revenue for Guam off the tourism revenue, or do you think more from the taxation of cannabis products?
Oh man, I think both. Because it's now emerged, that the time has emerged that, like I said, the people that indulge in cannabis or openly use cannabis, it's all walks of life, from the professional to the journeyman and everything in between. The soccer mom, the bartender that's getting off of a 12-hour shift, the people that deliver your newspaper, the people that bake your donuts. People don't want to smoke. They don't want to drink alcohol. They don't like cigarettes. But we all need our vices, and you're going to start to see that's the they're going to get great benefit from it, and it's everybody. So if they come as a tourist, they're going to be working class, middle to middle upper to upper class, economic base. They're going to eat at your restaurants. They're going to go shop at your stores. They're not just going to, come and, indulge and consume, and then that's it. Like, they're going to do what they do in all these other places, which is take advantage of everything else that the place has to offer. And Guam has tons. Yeah. Who doesn't want to, take a cannabis gummy and sit on the beach, and you don't got to worry about your back pain for a couple hours and enjoy a sunset while you're away from your crazy 9 to 5 in the Matrix in Tokyo or Gangnam or someplace like that. I can only imagine.
I was also kind of wondering on the numbers where if it's already legal to kind of grow your own in your backyard, like I'm just wondering, will there still be money to be made for an actual, distributor or company to put it out more commercially? Because what if you're, middle income person, why not just grow it yourself, right? And like, do you think there's still a market for the people that, potentially could grow it themselves, but will they actually turn towards commercial purchasing?
Yes, sir. And I think, Doc, the same argument could be presented in terms of like, man, I just get some cows and have my own beef or my own chicken or my own, I'll have poultry, a little poultry thing, and I have my own eggs, and everyone wants to do it. And once they try it, holy cow, this is a lot of work, and is it easy to grow cannabis? I believe it is. If you follow certain steps, I think it can be done by anybody. Is it easy to grow good cannabis consistently? I think that's the challenge. And then having to face, like, again, people, it becomes a convenience issue. What's more convenient for me? To do this and hope it comes out every 3, 4, 5 months, and maybe I might have something, or, I could just walk into that shop right there and they've got lab tested, safe, there's so many varieties. They've got different types of delivery systems and, and they've got reward points. Wow, this is better than a coffee card. And, there's that. Are we proponents of home grow? Yes, absolutely, because there are some amazing cultivators out there, and it helps to really spread the positive message of what's happening in the cannabis space, whether it be CBD, THC, hemp, or anything like that. But we are humans. We are consumers. We love convenience. And if there are really other good, safe options for that, I think people will start to see the benefits of that when you're busy grinding 9 to 5. I don't got time to water these plants, or damn, someone just stole that stuff I've been growing for the last 4 months. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So they start to understand the realities of what it is, and you pick a path, you choose, Hopefully you're lucky you got a cousin or a brother-in-law that grows the best stuff and he kicks you, that's great. Yeah. But there are challenges to it for sure.
I see your point. Yeah. And I wanted to go now into more of the medical side, or the therapeutic uses of CBD and
I am not a medical professional. This is just I got to put out there, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just going to tell you everything from, I guess, being more of a patient of cannabis and its derivatives.
Yeah. But at least I'm sure you've looked at some medical studies, but have you seen any almost, how would you call it? Almost control studies, or even head-to-head studies of, say, cannabis versus like a Schedule 1 narcotic painkiller, like efficacy in terms of dialing down the pain? Are they all? Would you say it's almost comparable, or?
I've seen many studies over the years, and the only one that matters at this point is the one that Health and Human Services put out. Finally admitting that there are medical benefits to the use of cannabis. I think that's the only one that was holding all the others back. Prior to that, it didn't matter if you were, right now, the guys that are on the edge, the cutting edge, are the Israelis. Anything that comes out of Israel that has anything to do with medical cannabis, they are on the cutting edge of efficacy, purity. Their QA is fantastic. And and we are so behind. I think the next ones after that would be the Australians, who've been able to really fine tune all their processes from the government to the vendor side when it comes to providing really, really good products for their medical patients. There are some states that are very successful, that have very robust medical cannabis programs, which have been part of different case studies throughout the years. And they do show, so many different benefits of responsible use of cannabis in its raw form as flower, or in any of its other derivatives, where you're going to have some severe health benefits. Control.
What are some of those health benefits that are, I guess, proposed or in I guess online? What do they say? What therapeutic benefits can you get from cannabis or CBD?
Yeah, so I think some of the earlier studies proved, like the ability for cannabis to help with appetite stimulation in people that were going through any type of chemotherapy. You've had people that have had glaucoma issues that were able to help kind of like slow down the effects of the glaucoma by, the cannabis controlling the inflammation of the nerves. Arthritis patients with control of the inflammation around the joints. I suffer from really bad osteophytes, I guess what it is, the knuckles. You've treated me before.
Osteoarthritis?
Yeah,
Okay.
And just that repeated wear and tear, just being able to relax, find some sleep aid, find, turn the gears down, slow it down so that you're not, overthinking things, the ability for you to have a calming effects, whether you drink a little tea or smoke a vaporizer or take a gummy. I think those are all very beneficial to people when they don't want to drink, 2 or 3 beers or even whatever it takes for them to get an effect, that they're looking for. Maybe that's not the effect they're looking for,
In your experience, like say for your arthritic type pain in your hands, like were you able to find a CBD concentration that could pretty much mimic or be as therapeutic as cannabis?
So in the reading that I've done, CBD on its own tends to not be as effective on its own if it doesn't have a little bit of THC cannabinoids to help in that entourage effect. And that naturally occurs in the plant itself. Yeah. It's only during the extraction process do we isolate CBD away from the THC cannabinoids and then hope that it has some kind of effect, because the U.S. government made Delta-9 THC the big bad wolf. Right? Because that's kind of like the construct that they really measure everything by. Right. The Delta-9 THC concentration, whether it's at less than 0.3% on a dry weight basis or above 0.3% on a dry weight basis.
Is that the only component that can cause more of the psychotropic effects or the high?
There are many, many cannabinoids. I think right now we're at I've like 30 researched ones, but hundreds of cannabinoids within the plant itself, and if it's not the cannabinoids itself, it's the acids, which are the precursors. Upon decarboxylation, they start to activate into these compounds and then and so again, we're playing catch up with time, trying to figure out what are all these things that are so beneficial that we admitted to, and it's kind of like it's kind of like the cart before the horse type of scenario right now going on with like the understanding of what makes it work, or at least admitting that this stuff really does work and we really know what it is, So I would say with the way that the information exchange is nowadays, I guess you'll be seeing even more robust positive studies in the next 3 years as to what's the right dosage. I mean, now they're able to isolate what cannabinoids affect you in a certain way. So they'll have a cannabinoid product that will just, focus on your anxiety. They'll have a cannabinoid product that will enhance your sexual appetite. They'll have a specifically targeted cannabinoid product that will help with your psoriasis, or or destroy cancer cells or something like that. So they're still working on the dosing. They're still working on the formulation, but there are definitely those products that are very kind of like problem specific, so to speak.
Yeah. So you could really specify it so you're not bombarded with all different things, and you can concentrate it to that.
Yeah, and you're not getting a bad experience. Like, you're not getting so bombed that you never want to touch this stuff again, which happens a lot. Or you're having an experience where, man, this stuff doesn't even work for me. Right. So those are all the challenges of the developing industry, so to speak, and alongside the developing legislation.
Yeah, and I'm very a fan, or even hopeful, for the CBD side, because, as an employer and also as a physician, I want to have the therapeutic effects for the symptom or that disease without necessarily having the psychotropic effect of being high.
Definitely. Yeah. So look for CBD products that are, yes, there are some people that respond very well to just pure CBD. Real minimal trace levels of THC cannabinoids. But now with the federal model, the ability to bring in high quality lab tested hemp products that have CBD cannabinoids, they have Delta 8, Delta 10, Delta 11, Delta 9, Delta 7. They're more full spectrum the way nature intended. Yeah. So having the access to those type of products, having a little bit of those THC cannabinoids in conjunction with the CBD cannabinoid itself does wonders for someone's endocannabinoid system and the response that the body gets.
Yeah. And one thing I just learned over the summer when I was at this integrative clinic, I was being mentored at the Pacific Pearl. I just learned about CBN. I had no idea.
CBN.
So I'm kind of looking into that.
CBN is hot right now. Yeah. CBN is a really hot cannabinoid in the market because people want that sleep. Yeah. They work really well, like really good. The products out there, they're great. You don't wake up. I remember trying to take melatonin. Yeah. And just having the worst experience with melatonin, waking up the next day. CBN gummies are very nice. Yeah. Wonderful things.
Yeah. So that's something I might be willing to experiment with. And I really like that aspect of recommend that over, medications like Ambien or Lunesta, because those can have some bad trips. And I've personally had, a family member, like, my mom had Ambien, and the next day she got in a car wreck.
Yes.
She was
still feeling the effects of it.
And she was almost, sleepwalking to a sense.
Correct. And to your point, Doc, with my wife's shops, she tells me all the time that the biggest inquiry is always, man, girl, I need something to sleep. I need something to help me sleep. I just want to get a good night's rest, and I don't want to take what the doctor's been giving. And we get those conversations on the daily. Help me. I heard that these gummies are good for me, and we go from there, and we try to point them to, educate, re-educate, make them understand what they're doing, have them do a little more research on their own. Don't just take our word for it. Yeah. Don't just be transparent. Show them everything that we got going on. What's in this stuff? Where is it from? How it gets tested? What it does to you? And if you don't have a product that works, we'll find one that does.
Yeah. And I think you were saying something about there's a better combination, not just CBN. You said
so CBG, CBN with the CBD.
Okay,
those tend to be the nice mix of CBD cannabinoids that really promote a restful sleep. Yeah, just the ability to have that sleep to where you don't wake up groggy from alcohol or prescription drugs. You just I feel rested. I'm powered up. I'm refreshed. I can move on for the day.
Yeah, and typically, like, say for
I know my
30
wife's going to kill me. I might be messing up all these cannabinoids. Am I right? CBG, CBN, CBD. Yeah, I'm right. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
So
full
about
spectrum.
so say for that combination, right? The we're not looking for magic. Not everything's a magic bullet, but it seems
Yes.
like that's a great combination. But say for a 30-day supply or 30 gummies or 30 servings at your shop, about how much would that cost on average?
So you could probably get a. So here's the thing: is like you could go about it and buy a low potency product and have to buy according to the dose, or some people will get a high potency product and then kind of like have or cut them up, cut up a gummy, and then they have more doses now, and so it could be anywhere from about 60 to 75 bucks a month on the low dosage stuff, or you could buy a $50 or $60 bag and cut them up, and you'll have maybe a month and a half supply. So you got to know your dose, figure out what your dose is. Gummies and tablets and drinks and like we have like taffies and hard chews. Start slow. Start at 5 milligrams. And then work your way up in increments.
Is that generally, is there almost like a weight-based equation, or is just let's pick a least possible dose and work way up?
Yeah, for me, I think a good intro is like anything that's like 2 or 3 milligrams of THC and like 5 milligrams of CBD. That's great. We've heard great responses from that formulation in all activity levels, in all age groups. Just starting off with that, great response. I'm not. Again, you don't want the psychoactive effects of being stoned. I just need to get this joint pain under control. I don't want to feel pain when I sit up every time when I try to stand up. And those formulations tend to be the winners. So, 5 milligrams, babe, am I right? 5 milligrams CBD, 2 to 3 milligrams of THC. Look for products with that ratio.
Okay. Yeah. So looking at the ratio, the dosage matters, but I think the other fact we have to face is the quality, or where you source it, where you vet the supplement matters. Not just CBD, but any supplement.
Anything, doc. So remember, everything, we put it in our mouth, right? We all this stuff that we consume, we allow that stuff to come into us, right? Yeah. So the simplest way I can put it, when it comes to like sourcing the best stuff, think of it as like in the mainland, the analogy would be meatloaf, but here on Guam it'd be frittata. Do you just eat anybody's frittata?
No.
Right? Yeah. Right? So once you kind of understand that, you should be applying that to everything that you do. Right? I'm not just gonna, hey, try this. Oh, hey, try this. Mine's better. Yeah. Like, come on, guys. It's 2024. You can go to a shop. You can access information online. You can educate yourself, just 5-10 minutes. What's going on here? I'll go to the shop, look at their brands, go outside, look on the phone, see the reviews. Now you've got so much more information exchange. So if you choose to be ignorant and not educate yourself, then you're just stupid at that point, right? So the best analogy to that question, which I hear, like, well, why do you have to get it lab tested? And my neighbor down the street, he's been doing it for this long, and that's great. But think of it, treat it like food. Yeah. Do you just eat anything that's just thrown to you? Put some thought behind it.
Yeah, and I mean, I do have a.
If you eat other people's frittata, let me know, Doc. It's okay. I won't judge. I don't judge.
I even have a personal patient story that, of course I can't 100% prove, but just the coincidence is just too hard to ignore. So I had one patient, after one of his gigs, one of his friends gave him a CBD, I guess gummy or some sort of CBD substance, right? And they all tried it, and yeah, within the hour or so, like he
Having a bad experience.
he described it as he thought he was gonna die.
Yeah,
And
probably
I
multiple
guess,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess, if I were to describe in medical terms, he was probably having more like a major anxiety attack. That's probably what he was feeling. But it was to the point that he went to the ER
Yes.
because he thought he was dying. So, and I don't know what his medical costs of, probably his copay was a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 just to go to the ER. So you can have crazy effects like that if you don't get the right source. So that's one message I want to put out. The sourcing is important, and you just shouldn't just try anything that
That's
people
right.
give you.
Don't just try anything that anyone just shoves at you. Right. And even more to the point of there needs to be a regulated market to be able to hold the retailers accountable for the stuff that they sell and make sure that there's checks and balances in place so that things like that, those experiences don't happen to people and we don't have unfortunate accidents and people don't get to fully benefit from it, And you got people that prank people with spiking the punch still and, you know what I'm trying to say? Right. So, yeah, more so like really be careful of what you put in your mouth.
Yeah. Especially now that fentanyl is on Guam too. Yeah, don't do it. Don't
even more so.
Anything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but just to drive the point home, can you explain like your process of how you vet your products and what are the processes you go through just for you compared to maybe some other places or the stores?
Yeah, so I mean, being able to access the industry through visiting any of the registered trade shows in the industry. There are multiple trade shows around the world with good vetted vendors that work with reputable labs that are putting out compliant product. And, the internet is such an invaluable tool when it comes to people voicing their positive, if not negative experiences with certain products and certain companies. Yeah. And they'll, there's many websites, many Reddit subreddits that they're very quick to out, nefarious players in the industry when there's foolishry happening, So being able to connect with people within the industry at trade shows, being able to reach out to the vendors directly and having a good understanding of their operations. We go to where this stuff is made. Yeah. We see their faces. We know where their operations are at, and then talking to other people in the industry. Yeah. Hey, you've been buying from these guys. How's their experience? Are their labs good? How's their delivery? Are they good on the money side? Is any complaints? How are they when it comes to something that has bad QA?
And the QA is there so that quality assurance where the products you bring in, a lot of them are third-party tested to say that this is the actual milligrams and this is the actual substances that are in there, no contaminants. Right?
That is so important, most importantly because we're locals. We're locals and we're not doing anything to try to bring crazy stuff to this island. Yeah. And quality and everything that you do means everything.
Yeah. So that's why it's important to really get a good source. And what's the name of the store?
Oh, Gateway, Guam's highest quality hemp. So
where's that located?
So we have 3 locations now. The main store is in Ordot at the Sunshine Plaza, so next to Homai in Ordot if you're heading towards Leo Palace. Yeah. We also have another location in Chigo, right off of Marine Corps Drive at the Woostic Road exit. Mm-hmm. It's right there at the L building where the former Crown Bakery used to be. Mm-hmm. And then our 3rd store is currently at the Park Arcade, which is where the Porky's building is at, across the Hyatt Hotels. We're right in Tumon. Yeah. And we got 3 locations to serve you. We've got great staff that's well educated on The staff does so much. They're really good at not just giving you good customer service, but they're really stepping up their game when it comes to educating people about cannabinoids, you know, and the effects that they have and the dosages and stuff. And so, shout out to a super fantastic staff. And then, I mean, if there's anyone that knows a lot about marijuana or cannabis or hemp or CBD on this island, it's got to be my wife, Nina. So she's super educated on the industry, super educated on the products, and just the being able to educate and re-educate the public on what we're doing. She's really stepped up and been on the forefront of all of that stuff. So yeah, totally.
All right.
Totally.
Shout out to her, Nina.
Yes, the wife.
Yeah, and I want to drive home the point again. Yes, please use a good source like Gateway, right?
Yes, Gateway.
Yeah, and because you can have many possibilities, but the two possibilities I'm worried about for people that go ahead and try CBD from other sources is you might get underdosed and think, oh, CBD is not going to be effective, and you lose out the potential. If you had joint pain or whatever condition for years, you think you tried a product and it didn't work and never give it a chance again. And
Yes.
you totally missed out, right?
Yes.
And then the worst case scenario probably, or I don't know if I should say worst case scenario, but another case scenario is like that patient where they had a horrific experience and they went up in the ER because they had a freak out and panic attack, right? And they're certainly probably not going to do it again.
Yes.
Right. So
And both situations are very unfortunate.
right. So that's why if you're gonna even your first try or something, make sure you get a good source and get a good quality product so you can hopefully get the maximal, benefits and without any complications, if any, because anything can give you potential side effects, but at least get a good quality product so you know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, we've covered a lot. Yeah, jiu-jitsu to just even the CBD is very expansive and a lot for me to learn about because there's so many effects of the different cannabinoids.
I learn every day about it. Things that I thought, I have to reevaluate and re-understand because a new study comes out that shows something else. And so it's an exciting time in the world, in the industry where I guess people are really opening their eyes to the viability of it as a positive substance. Yeah. And just keep your finger on the pulse of what's to happen, because with I guess it seems like with RFK, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, things might escalate further, in terms of further acceptance. Yeah.
All right.
And jiu-jitsu, Doc, we're going to get on the mat, right? 2025, let's go.
Maybe we'll do a video on that.
Let's go.
Let's see. Any other comments or last things you want to put out there?
Nothing. Just I appreciate the time. Thank you for letting me be on the podcast to talk a little bit about what's going on. And to anyone that's listening, thank the doc for being able to put this service out so we can educate ourselves about our minds and our bodies a little bit better. And I guess I put the words down. I'm living by them. If you want to, that's basically how it is. Just live a healthy lifestyle. Try to find out things for yourself and see, how being comfortable at being uncomfortable can be such a great thing for your life.
Yeah. Well, and on that, well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you for having me.
All right.